What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new rebuild, and today we are going to be rebuilding Sunderland. That is right, it's been requested a fair few times, and we're going to try and turn them into Premier League champions over 5 seasons. Now, I will say, this ended up being quite the challenge, so do stick around because the video gets very fun towards the end. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's get into it. So a little bit about Sunderland in the game. Obviously, we know who they are. They're a fantastic team with a lot of history, a 3-star reputation in the game, a little bit harsh in my opinion, 4.5-star training facilities, 4-star youth facilities, and 2-star youth recruitment. Now, as an actual club, going over to their overview, 6 Premier League titles. That is why they should have that reputation at least a little bit higher in my opinion. 2 FA Cups, 5 Sky Bet Championships, 1 Sky Bet League 1, 1 English Community Shield, and 1 Bristol Street Motors Trophy. The big trophy saved till last, but overall, recently, they've been okay, but of course nowhere near to where they used to be. So what we're going to do is, we're going to try and turn that 6 into a 7, and hopefully maybe another FA Cup. We'll see what we can do. Obviously, of course, there is also the chance that we do get European football, and then we could win the first European trophy with this team ever in their history. Now, going over to the tactic, I am going to deploy quite a basic looking tactic for the first season especially. That is going to be just a Gegenpress 4-3-3. Because the reason behind this is because basically I want to make sure we get out of the division in the first season, because then we can have 4 seasons, 4 goes at really cracking down the Premier League title. If we don't get promoted in the first season, it's a season wasted in my opinion. Now, we have got some fantastic players in this team. The first one I'm going to go to is probably what you were expecting. That is going to be Joe Bellingham, obviously Jude Bellingham's brother. Probably not as good, I think that's fair to say, but still a very, very good player. 17 years of age, and who knows, one day maybe could become just as good as his brother, if not better. Maybe that's a little bit of a bold shout, but still a very, very good player. And for those Sunderland fans, I believe he's sticking with you in real life, so you can look forward to that. Now, going up to some other players, of course, one of my personal favourites in this game is going to be Jack Clark. Now, what I'm going to do with this guy, actually I have done it, is I have extended his contract to the max I can, and it did cost me a fair bit of money, but we don't sign any players in the first season, so we may as well spend the money somewhere. So we've done that by obviously making sure we've got Clark and Bellingham. This is another player, Rusin, who is a player who probably isn't the most sort of sought after player in the game, but I will say he can score a goal or two. I've used him before and he was actually really, really good. So hopefully we can get more from him. Of course, in terms of the rest of the players, they're okay is what I'm going to say. They're okay. There's some decent players, but the ones I've gone over are probably the real key figures in the team. Obviously, we're banking on Rusin, Clark and Bellingham almost not carrying us, but playing a big part in that first season. Of course, if you're playing back home, you would have had a budget of £7 million to spend. For me, I don't spend it. Now, financially, they're not actually too bad. So that's not anything we've got to worry about too much. They got a bit of money, to be fair. Now, competition-wise, obviously, we are playing in 3 cups. The FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, or the Championship's not a cup, but 3 tournaments, sorry. The Championship, though, we are predicted to finish in 9th place. Now, I think that's a little bit harsh for the team we've got. I am honestly hoping we can at least get promotion, even if it is through the playoffs. I do want to say, if you are interested in getting this save file at the end of the video, you can do so by joining the Patreon in the link below, where also you get the tactic, you get mobile tactics, console tactics, you get everything early, and also you get access to this month's giveaway, which is quite the big one. So come over and check it out in the description below, and if I remind myself, I'll put a little pop-up on the screen. But let's go into Season 1 with this tactic and see exactly what's in store. So we're going to start off now against a Premier League side in the FA Cup quarter-final, where we come out and actually win 3-0. All the goals are in extra time, but I thought I'd show you because in Season 1, we're doing fancy flicks against a Premier League team, showing we might actually be okay if we get there this season. A very comfortable game. But despite that fantastic display in the quarter-finals, we actually do bail out in the semi-finals here. We did play Man City, it's to be expected. As for the Carabao Cup, you actually haven't got to scroll down too far. The second round is going to be where we lose. It is going to be on penalties against Everton. Again, I'm not too fussed as long as we have won the league, and we have won the league. Now, I will say it was not the most comfortable. It was done by 1 point to claim, obviously, first place. But to be fair, there was quite a point difference from first and second down to third. So we would have been okay naturally. And as you can see, the players I was expecting to perform have performed. Jack Clark, Rusin, Roberts, Jack Clark again. Defensively, we haven't got the most clean sheets, so we might have been a little bit ropey in that regard, but overall a very, very strong performance. As you can see here, most goals, most shots. Defensively, we were sort of third best. Third, or even not even on there, so defensively not as good, but attacking wise, we were absolutely incredible. Now, the squad, we've seen it right now. You can see 35 goals out of Jack Clark, which is one incredible season, so I'm glad we've managed to keep him. 27 for Rusin. We've got Joe Bellingham with 15. 15, 14 for Roberts, Dan Neil with 10. Assist-wise, it is looking really, really good as well, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players contributing 7+ assists in a season. Now, I want to see usually 10+, but considering it's the first season, some of these players... Actually, Bellingham, I somewhat would expect more assists, but do you know what? It's his first season. I'm not going to get rid of him anytime soon, but overall, really happy with them sort of stats, and I think we can tell who's going to be the best player. Jack Clark. He is an incredible player, and he is now wanted by Palace, Everton, United and Wolves, and guess what? They're not having him. We have been taken, and hopefully they're not taking a mick. We've been given £45 million to spend in the first season going into the Premier League. Now, I will be using instalments because I want to make sure we stay in the Premier League and not come right back down. So I'm going to see what we can do, see who we can bring in, because realistically, I'm not throwing any shade on these players, but the entire back line might not even be Premier League quality. The goalkeeper definitely isn't. So let's go over and have a little look what we can do, because we arguably need 5 to 6 players. I've gone down the path of signing more quality players than quantity, and this is going to be the first player. That is going to be James Trafford, coming in from Burnley, and yes, we have forked out a lot of money on him because you are going to. He's English, he's 21 years of age, he's a decent Premier Division player at the age of 21, which is very young for a goalkeeper, and he sent me back £40 million, which is obviously nearly 20 million more than what Burnley paid for him. But this is going to be our goalkeeper, pretty much set for the entire rebuild, so a lot of money, but a position locked in. And we've somehow had enough money to scrape enough to bring in a wonder kid. That is going to be Callum Doyle, coming in from Leicester. Again, you're going to pay the premium because he's English, he's young, he's got tons of potential, versatile as well, can play centre-back and left-back as well. He's on £55,000 a week, and he sent me back £45 million. So we have spent quite big. Obviously, one of them signings was paid out pretty much all outright, which is going to be Callum Doyle. The other one was done in very heavy instalments. But to be fair, you've got to do that. You've got to bring in the big players to stay up nowadays. And I will say, they do slot right into the team. So it is going to be Trafford, Doyle, Hume, Ballard, Sirkin, Neil, Ekwar, Bellingham, Roberts, Clark and Rusin, who do complete the 11. And I am going to make slight tactical changes when I need to do so. For example, the defensive line, I definitely did have a little play around with. And obviously, we have now got inverted options on the left and the right-hand side. And to be honest, we're going to change the tactic all throughout the season because we do not know quite what is the winning formula. This is literally our first season in the Premier League, so we're going to have to learn as we sort of go. Now, I will say, we are going to be playing in the same competitions in terms of the cups, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, but the Premier League, I would imagine they're predicting relegation. They always do. They are predicted 19th place, but above Luton, so that's one positive. But I'm hoping we can finish at least in the top 15. That might be a big ask because obviously we've only brought in 2 players, but realistically, I'm going to say this now. I think Trafford, Doyle, Bellingham, Clark and Rusin are Premier League quality players. I'm interested to see how Rusin actually does. So let's get in to season number 2 and see what we can do. Let's start off with the Premier League, and actually it was a really big achievement in my opinion. Nearly in the top 10, 11th place in the first season, again with just the 2 signings. Rusin, the first joint top goal scorer, so he is really thriving in the Premier League, which is why I didn't sell him with the offers that come in. I will say, other than that, apart from Roberts contributing the second most assists, we aren't going to be too favoured, and I would imagine stat-wise, we're not going to be there. The 5th most goals, and when it comes to conceded, we're not even on the page, so it's not going to be a pretty season necessarily in terms of the stats, but we got the job done, stayed up by quite a comfortable amount of points, and therefore we're in the Premier League next season. Now, I would imagine that would result in some sort of money being pumped into the club. £72 million is a tidy budget I can work with. I am not fazed by that at all. We can definitely get some business work in there. Now, in terms of the other competitions, I'm just going to show you because it wasn't too pretty. It's going to be an exit in the FA Cup in the 4th round and the 2nd round by Crewe Alexandria. Now, that is a real kick in the teeth. But we'll have a little look at the schedule to see exactly what games we get battered by. Did we beat any of the big teams? We'll have a little look. So we'll go through this right now. The friendly started off really well. Oh yeah, we got a battering in the first month. I mean, Tottenham, City, Liverpool. We beat United 3-2 there, to be fair. 5-0 against Blackpool, City 4-1, 2-1. These games here, City, Liverpool and United back-to-back, is very harsh. We come out here, point against Chelsea's not too bad. Get battered 4-0 there. It's a mixture of results. It's definitely a mixture of results, not necessarily a good mixture of results. And goal-wise, it is going to look a lot worse now because obviously we're not in the Championship. It's a lot harder competition. But still, Rusin with 22 goals, that is very acceptable for a first season in the Premier League for him at this team. 19 for Jack Clark, Robert Roberts with 8, then there is obviously a big drop-off, and it's going to be the same story when it comes to the assists as well. Now, the only thing that worries me is obviously we're expecting Jack Clarke and Joe Bellingham to really pick up their pace now, play in the Premier League, play in the top level of football that's possible, and it might be quite a big ask for them. So I'm going to obviously keep Job and Jack Clarke because I feel like it's not a Sunderland rebuild without them in the team, so I'm going to keep them, but they do need to really pick it up in the next season because, I mean, our highest average rating, apart from obviously Bishop, who is going to get a good one because he played one game, is going to be Jack Clarke. To be fair to him, I've just slated the guy, but he's actually done really well. But that's a 7.18, so it's not the high 7s. But it is our first season. I've got to be reasonable. But I think the plan, what I always like to do is look at this. So we're the 5th best and the 5th worst. Now, it doesn't really tell me anything. If we were, for example, were good at scoring and awful at defence, I'd strengthen the back line. But we sort of need improvements in both areas. So I think realistically, the plan here is to try and bring in more quantity than quality this time. Obviously, sign good players, but make sure we're bringing in decent players, but maybe not players that are £45 million each. Let's get into season 3 of the transfers. We've got a total of 72, basically 73 million. First player coming in, you might want to blink twice because it is going to be Anthony. You might think, Josh, what have you done? How much have you spent? And do you know what? I'm going to show you that first before you do have a panic attack. We only spent £10 million. When a player like this is on the market for £10 million, I'm going to take him because he will get into the first team. He's definitely not a fraction of the player that come to Manchester United, but for £10 million, I'm having him any day. For a player who looks really good in this game, Nuno Tavares. Now, this is going to be a player 25 years of age, so again, not young, but still not old. He's incredibly quick, good at tackling. His crossing is okay. We can also work on that as well. But overall, a big improvement and actually a Premier League left back, which is something we've definitely been missing of recent times. Now, he did cost me a total of £17 million, but again, I don't think that's bad for an established fullback who, again, is only 25. The story goes for Lamptey and a similar price tag, to be honest. He sent me back a total of £18 million. Again, a player who's been in the Premier League now for time, and it's always the same conversation. Is he going to move team? Is he going to go to a top team? I don't think he is, but he can come to Sunderland. We're going to become a top team. And again, same story as it goes for Nuno. Incredibly quick, very good at tackling. Crossing could do with some work as well, very similar to him. 24 years of age. He's on £73,000 a week. But again, a fullback that's actually a decent Premier League player. Simply a loan option with an option to buy, but not guaranteed. So we'll see how he does. It is going to be Juan Sforza coming in from Manchester United, previously, of course, of Newell's Old Boys. A player who is very versatile in that centre of the park, very well-rounded stats as well, and very sort of approachable, and you can actually pick him up. He's not the best of the best, but he will be one of our better players. Hopefully going to have him in a sort of box-to-box role. Again, a decent Premier Division player on £36,000 a week. Lastly, again, a simple loan option with the option to buy, but the option to buy is like 60 million, so we're not going to be able to afford him. But for one season to push it up in hopefully some European places, Alex Scott is going to come into the team. Again, incredibly versatile, probably a step up on the previous player we just showed, but again, going to help us big time for this season and just helps with the team. Now, I will say, in terms of players going out, we've had none so far. We've not really had anything. I've kept all the players in the team purely to make us have quite a big squad, because that's one of the biggest mistakes you can have in Football Manager and in real life, is going up to the Premier League and not having a big size squad. So we've kept a lot of players at this team, and the team now looks a little bit like this. So as you can see, it's going to be Trafford, Lamptey, Ballard, Doyle, Nuno, Neil, Sforza, Scott, Anthony, Clarke and Rusin. And the bench obviously now has Bellingham on, which I will make sure he gets some game time, but I do not lock in players. That is a rule on this channel. So we're going to see what can happen, and hopefully he can fight back into the team and get some game time. Now, what I will say is we are constantly tweaking this tactic around. So now for this season, I'm considering having Anthony out on the wing, not as an inverted option, letting him do his tricks and flicks on the wing, and hopefully being more of a provider for Rusin. But we'll see what happens. We've got a plan in place. Hopefully we can follow it. The one issue I've got now is Trafford's worrying me because he's not developing anywhere near to what I believe he was. He looks a little bit like Fogden, I've just realised. But genuinely, he's not developing anywhere near to what I thought he was going to. And he's dropped down from a decent Premier player to a Sky Bet Championship. So hopefully he has quite a strong season, but he is facing shots. There's no secret about that. We're not exactly the best of the best defensively last season. So let's see what we can do. We are playing, of course, in the same competitions, and they are predicting a finish of rock bottom. Seems pretty harsh. Let's get into it. We're going to start off with a negative. One step ahead of the quarterfinals. We are going to bail out in the 5th round against West Brom in extra time in the FA Cup. That's not a good start to the season. And again, it's a very early exit in the Carabao Cup. We are going to go out against Brentford in the 3rd round, a team we comfortably beat in the first season. This time they get their revenge, but I've saved the best till last, and I have had a little sneak peek. We have managed to finish in 6th place in the Premier League, which is absolutely mental. We have got no players in terms of the goals or assists or the clean sheets, so this just tells me it's been a very, very equal team performance. We've clenched it, and to be fair, quite comfortably over Newcastle, who are obviously in 7th place. That is going to be European football in Season 3 with Sunderland, and I will say we have not got the squad to hack it, so I hope we have got a little bit of money being pumped into the club. We are now going to go and have a little look and see £62 million. It's okay, it's an okay bit of money, but realistically, we are playing, it's a big step up now because we're in European football. We're trying to keep pushing up into the Premier League. We're already into Season 4 coming up for the transfers. Now, goal scoring wise, again, we're looking at it. Jack Clark, 17, 15 for Anthony. A decent first season for him, to be fair. Rusin dropped down to 11, and I do think, and I don't want to say it, but I think it could be Rusin's time to take a little step back, bring in another striker, because I don't think Rusin's going to be classed as Premier League quality. He's a good Sky Bet League 1 player, so I think it could be time. Joe Bellingham, a decent Sky Bet Championship player. He's not really thriving anymore. There are a few players in this team who genuinely aren't doing the business, and I will say the likes of Forza I am going to make sure we are going to bring in because I want to have some options in midfield, and he's going to cost me virtually nothing. Alex Scott didn't really perform anyway, and he's way too expensive, so I'm not going to be going for him. Other than that, there's not really too much to talk about because at this stage of a rebuild, you're getting the results, as in it's a fantastic result, but you're not really getting the stats alongside of it. So, you're not getting a striker scoring 50 goals a season because we are quite a low-rated team. But it is a big step up in football, and it is going to take a long time to do these transfers. Again, £62 million going into the 4th transfer window. I'm looking at the team right now. We need a new striker. The wingers are okay for now, but potentially might need new backup. That's no secret at all. The midfield, again, we're going to lose Scott. We're going to hopefully keep Forza. Neil's not going to cut the mustard. He's a good Sky Bet Championship player. We're trying to challenge for a Premier League title. We need another centre-back. The wing-backs are okay for now. Maybe a new goalkeeper. Lots of news coming in now. So let's go and deal with quite a stressful Season 4 of transfers because there's a lot of players we need to bring in. The first player we're going to bring in is going to be João Sforza, coming in from Manchester United, and this is going to be a player who obviously we did have on loan. He done okay, nothing too special, but he still looks very, very good, and for the price tag we paid of £7 million, you're not going to get too much of a better player than that. Also, incredibly versatile, can play deep, centrally, and attacking, and still only 24 years of age. So for a player like this who can ping the ball about quite well, you can see that with his passing, his technique, he's not the quickest, but he doesn't really need to be. We're going to welcome him in to this amazing Sunderland team. Had to do it. I do apologise for the Rusin fans, but Lyle Foster is going to come in from Burnley, a good Premier League striker. If you're wondering why I've gone with him, it's the only player we could really afford. After you see the next couple of signings, you're going to understand why, but he looks very, very good. He's quite quick, good finishing, very good composure for a player like that, and I will say 71 grand a week, and he cost me 21 million. So not a massive investment either, in my opinion, for a player who has played in the Premier League, of course, and what I will say, I'm hoping he can come in and just put up 20 goals a season. That's what I need from a striker. Jack Clark will contribute, Anthony will contribute, but hopefully he can come in and at least bag 20. It's feeling a little bit chilly. We're going to bring in Cole Palmer now because we couldn't afford Alex Scott, and that is because I actually offered them the 60 million they wanted, but it wasn't enough. So I thought, do you know what? We're going to cut ties there. We're going to get a better player in Cole Palmer, £46 million, a fair price tag, only £6 million more than what obviously Chelsea paid for Man City. He looks absolutely incredible. Can play on the right. For us, going to play a bit more centrally. He's not that quick, but he's quick enough. He's got great dribbling, good finishing, good first touch, good composure, good technique, and again, 24 years of age. He is a player that we can have definitely for the rest of this rebuild, and for when you back home carry on this rebuild as well for yourself. So that is going to be a perfect signing. Carry on the English theme by bringing in Adam Wharton, again another player who is very sought after in this game. We're going to hopefully sit a little bit deeper for us in this team. 22 years of age, and again, you're going to pay the premium because he comes from the Premier League. League, he's English, he's 22, and yeah, £49 million to bring this lad in. But we have just brought in some of the best, well, I mean, I'm not going to say the best, but definitely up there with Wharton, Cole Palmer, some incredible players right there, both English talents as well. We've got a new striker, and of course, we've got the loney midfielder from last season. And the team is a little bit new look, to be fair. If we go and filter by the best 11 right now, which we are going to do, it's going to consist of Trafford, Lamptey, Ballard, Doyle, Tavares, Wharton, Sforza, Neil, Anthony, Clark, and Foster. I would not have Neil in there. I would have the likes of Cole Palmer, and obviously Bellingham can come in and rotate as well. Now, what I will say is I'm going to have one last chance for Trafford, because I've done my signings now. I can't afford a goalkeeper. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try and go with an outscoring approach. If it doesn't work, we are going to have Trafford as a backup, which is a very expensive backup keeper. We might even look to sell him, to be honest, and bring in someone a bit more experienced, maybe, hopefully, with Premier League quality, but you can't always get what you want. So this team I'm more confident in. The midfield's really, really good. The back line is okay. The wing-backs I'm really fond of. Obviously, the centre-backs are good. Doyle's really good. Ballard is okay. The midfield's incredible. The wingers are good. The striker, we don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully he can be 20 goals a season. Now, we are playing in 4 competitions, so a step up, the Premier League, the Europa League, the FA Cup, and the Carabao Cup, and they are predicting a finish of around about 15th place. I think we can finish higher than that. Do I think we're going to get inside the top 6 again? I don't, because we're playing in Europe. So more games, more potential of injuries. Let's get into Season 4 and see what happens. So we actually started cooking in the Europa League, to be honest with you, with Neil out wide into Lamptey, into Foster, who had one incredible game. And based off this game alone, I'm hoping he scored a fair few goals, as Anthony's going to win it back from God knows what happened there. And Foster gets a second goal inside of 4 minutes to make it 2-0 in the second leg of the Ajax, I believe, quarterfinals this was, as Foster goes through and makes it 3 in 9 minutes. And one more goal to come now with Nuno into Clark, into Wharton, back into Cole Palmer. A very comfortable game. That obviously was the round of 16, as we are going to get knocked out in the quarterfinals against Roma 3-1 on aggregate. So that is where we are pretty much going to finish in terms of the competition. It's nowhere near the final, but to be honest, we played quite well, played some really good teams and got some good results, so it's a positive. Isn't a positive, and what was to be expected, is going to be falling down the Premier League rankings in the 4th season down to 8th place, meaning we have got to gain 7 positions in one season to make this actually achievable. Now, that is quite a big ask, and obviously it comes down to the budget as well. It was not a pretty season at all. I mean, we were 1 point out of 7th place, I guess is the only positive looking at that, but if we look at the competitions, there's a whole lot of red. Quarterfinals to AFC Bournemouth, 4th round by Man City. The Europa League, I almost wish there was a button which says a do not attend game. Do not go, because playing in them games really did cost us a lot of fitness being wasted, and to be honest, we were never going to win the Europa League in my opinion, so we've knocked ourselves back tenfold in the Premier League because of another competition. I sound like Jurgen Klopp now, but it is how it is. More games, more potential of injury. You know, it's strenuous on the players, but overall, the squad-wise, we are looking at a player now who looks like is going to be a great signing. Lyle Foster with 30 goals in his first season. 13 for Cole Palmer, 13 for Anthony, who's wanted by... He's not going to the Saudi League. Jack Clark with 11, 7 for Wharton, Doyle with 5, 20 assists there from Dan Neil, which is really good to see. Anthony coming in with 14. Dan Neil's a player who I've not even really looked at too much, but fair play to him. He's only a good Sky Bet Championship player, but he's getting the assists. He's keeping Bellingham out the team. Anthony with 14, 13 for Palmer, Wharton with 12, 9 for Jack Clark, but however good it might be that he's got 20 assists and he's got 30 goals, we've won nothing this season, and it's getting to the point now where we've got such a task on our hands. We've literally got to go from 8th to 1st in the last season to make this sort of challenge complete. Now, the video will be posted whatever happens, but I'm hoping we can try and make it happen, and I'm quite scared to look at the finances, because we're going to need at least 50 million, and we've got... Well, you couldn't really be more spot on. We've got 53 million pretty much on the dot to spend, so... We're going to go into the next season, maybe sell some of these players as well. By the way, I will say we are going to switch up to a 4-2-3-1 for this last season, because genuinely we're going to go with a bit more consistency, a lot more balance, because I think we're quite good attacking, but we're conceding a fair few goals. A 4-2-3-1, nice and balanced. You've got your 4 back, 2 midfielders, 3 up there, and then 1 up there. So I'm hoping we can do something. I can tell you something for free now. Trafford is going to be playing as a backup, because he's now still a good Sky Bet Championship goalkeeper. I want someone, I don't care how old he is, I just want someone that's got experience at high level football. So let's get into season 5 of the transfers, and see what we can do. The first player we're going to bring in is going to be a good Premier Division goalkeeper, and you know what? One of the few goalkeepers that actually were interested in joining, that is going to be Kakir, the Turkish goalkeeper, 31 years of age. So again, definitely a sign-in for the present and not the future. He only cost us a total of, what, £10 million? A lot less than what Arsenal paid for him. So I'm just hoping for this last season, he's got enough in the locker to hopefully win us a Premier League title. It's a big ask. I've decided to strengthen the wing-back options as well. Not necessarily guaranteed first team, but just backup options as well, because the backup options we had in defence were actually really poor. We are going to bring in Frances, coming in from Wolfsburg and RB Leipzig. He's going to set me back a total of £25 million. Some done up front, a lot done actually sort of in instalments, only about £5 million up front. And he just looks a really good option to play anywhere across the back line. Probably most comfortable at fullback or centre-back. And again, 24 years of age. You can have him for sort of 3 or 4 years. If he doesn't develop too well, you can move him on for probably a similar price to what you paid for him. Very cheap signing because his contract was coming up for expiry, but I wanted to make sure I got him over the other team, so I just paid a little fee, and that was a total of 1.6 million from Wolves. That is going to be Jonathan Panzo coming in. Again, a very quick centre-back, very strong as well. Good tackling, and again, just strengthening the back line because we have not got enough depth. And another back line signing, a backup left-back, that is going to be Matson, a player I believe has moved in real life now as well, but that is going to be a total fee of around about not even 10 million, £9 million from Ajax, and again, a very versatile left-hand sided player. He can technically play on the right, but he doesn't look too comfortable, so he is going to be a backup left-back for us. Again, he offers a lot of things. He offers pace, okay tackling. We are going to train him on that one because I want him to be a little bit better in that regard. Okay crossing. He's an okay fullback, but that is exactly what you want for a backup option. They don't need to be Alphonso Davies. They just need to get the job done. A player that is on loan but joining permanently, that is going to be Sonko, coming in from Leeds, and again, the wingers I've noticed we've got good starting wingers, but the backup options aren't exactly amazing. So we are going to bring in this lad. Now, he looks absolutely incredible. He's not the quickest compared to like the likes of Anthony, who we recently signed. I've had a bit of a brainwave there. We signed one winger who was absolutely incredible, but I will say in terms of the physical, he's not the quickest of the quickest, but he makes up for it with brilliant dribbling. He reminds me of sort of like a Musiala, not as good as Musiala, but not as quick as some of the wingers, but very tricky on the ball, and a player who potentially could even get in the first team. Again, a player purely on the loan with no option to buy. He gets no game time at City, so he may as well come to us for a season. That is going to be Nunes. Again, a player who feels wasted in real life as well. Incredibly well-rounded, can play anywhere in midfield, even out on the right if you need him to do so. He's on £130,000 a week and set us back 18 million. I believe that is a fee which we can pay for him afterwards. Lastly, I've got an addiction to signing fullbacks, it seems. We are going to bring in Vinicius Tobias from West Ham, and genuinely this guy might actually get a start on right back slot because he looks nuts. He's so quick, good tackling, amazing crossing. Probably one of the best right backs, you can get in the Premier League for the price tag which we put on him, which was £15 million. So a fair price tag, and the team is now looking a bit like this. So let's filter by the best 11 and get a rough sort of understanding. It is going to be like this. We've got the new goalkeeper. We always got Kakir. We've got Lamptey, Frances, Doyle, Nuno, Wharton, Nunes, Anthony, Palmer, Sonko and Foster. Sonko right into the team, and the bench is now looking pretty nice as well. This is a very, very strong team, and while I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's Premier League winning quality, but we don't know until we roll that dice. I'm going to play about with the tactic a little bit more as well. I'll drop these two lads down to support because I think having them on attack was a little bit overkill. But let's go and see what we can do, because we are playing again in the Conference League. So not the Europa, but the Conference League. So still has 4 competitions, and they are predicting a finish of around about 13th place. Now, we need to win this to basically complete the challenge of the video. Let's go and see what we can do in Season 5. I've not got high hopes. So it's not the Premier League, but it is going to be the Europa Conference League final against Sevilla, a team who, they turn up in Europa games, don't they? Let's just be honest, and they did there, but we do get, I mean, that is a rocket. Forget what I was going to say. A great goal there from Nunes, and we actually go on to take the lead there with Francis, but they do get an equaliser literally a minute after, and it goes all the way through to extra time, and then all the way through to penalties, where they lever their first one in. Clark steps, same area, great strike there. They step up, a great save from the new goalkeeper. Big sign in there. Cole Palmer into the bottom left-hand corner. They step up. Fantastic penalty. Nunes, the loanee. I think I'm going to sign this guy on a permanent from what I've seen. Great penalty from them. Tobias steps. He scores. Amazing penalties. They step. They score. And of course, They have one less penalty on their end. We come out and we lift the Europa Conference League final. So get to the actual FA Cup final against Newcastle, where we lose to Newcastle on penalties. Of all teams, that's who we lose to. If you're a Birmingham City fan, probably one of the best games you're going to see out of your team, because you've won on penalties against us in the Carabao Cup, so hats off and fair play to you. But we have gone and done it, guys. We have gone and won the Premier League title. Now, I am going to say it is incredibly scrappy, and we can thank a couple of things here. The fact that Man City didn't have the best of the best season. We had an okay season. I mean, Lyle Foster has come in and nearly outperformed Erling Haaland, which is something to be said. Anthony, the most assists. Sonko, the second most assists. And our new goalkeeper signing. A lot of people critique me for signing older players, but he's come in, joint first, most clean sheets. Cole Palmer, first joint most amount of player of the matches as well. We have got players now really contributing and picking up player rewards individually. Now, what I will say is we have really relied on Lyle Foster. He is good, but he's not even that good in terms of ability. But 45 goals, 34 for Palmer, Sonko with 21, 16 for Anthony, Wharton with 10 for Clark, Nunes with 9. Assist-wise, 25 for Anthony, Sonko with 24, 24 for Wharton, Palmer with 19, 13 for Tavares, Tobias with 10, Nunes with 10. Really good contribution. And have you noticed that when you have that season, when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players contributing 10 plus assists, and you've got a load of players getting involved in the goals, that is when you win. You should never rely on one player solely to get you your results. You need at least 3 or 4 people to really be contributing to a high level, and that is finally what I've managed to achieve with this team. Now, if you are going to carry on back home, you can get this rebuild file obviously over on the Patreon, as well as the tactic and much more, so make sure you go and join the other 4,500 people. You're also going to have a budget of £87 million to spend, so I think you're going to want to get this file. I'm going to set you with the ultimate challenge. If you're a true Football Manager fan, you will like a challenge, and I'm going to tell you to win. I want you to win the Champions League with the Sunderland team, and I'm going to give you an extra 4 seasons to do so. So let me know if you get that done. Send me a screenshot as well, because I don't want any cheats out there. And we are going to be looking at the team I've left you with. It is going to be the likes of Kakir, Lamptey, Frances, Doyle, Matson, Wharton, Neil, Anthony, Palmer, Sonko, and Foster. Now, as you can see, we had a big shape up with the tactic change, actually featuring for the first time ever 2 sort of attacker midfield options here, because we thrived off it, so why not? So make sure you use some of these players. You've got some real top players in this team. Hopefully you've enjoyed the rebuild. Of course, we have completed the challenge of lifting them to 7 Premier titles and also winning them Europa. So we've done a very, very good job in my opinion. If you have enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.